Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ayala, and as we are talking to you today, we are live on Instagram, I'm live on YouTube, I'm also live on LinkedIn. And today I have my guest with me. My guest with me today, she's going to be putting more light on different questions based on her experience, what she's exposed to. She will be doing justice to our topic today. And before I go on, I would just like to read a short bio about um, my guest today. My guest today is Olajumoke, is a certified human resource professional. She's a career coach with over 8 years of experience transforming careers and creating inclusive talent pipelines. She is the founder of Thrive Careers Consulting, where she empowers professionals to build standout resumes, optimize LinkedIn profile, and navigate today's evolving job market with confidence. Because without confidence, a lot of things is going to go wrong. And she's very passionate and she advocates for newcomer success. Olajumoke facilitate workshops for immigrant communities and serve as a peer champion and GBV advisory committee member under OCASI. Also she's hosting also the Thrive Career Podcast, offering actionable insight on job search strategy, career clarity, and thriving in future of work. Welcome with me today, Olajumoke Fatuki. And Olajumoke, thank you so much for joining us today. I would say it's a great privilege to have you with me today on Trade with Ayala. And by the way, most people have asked me what's the meaning of trade. And trade is the right attitude and intentional project.
Hmm.
So I'm doing this with a lot of people, and I've had several guests on this trip with Iola for us to be able to shed more light about our story because the authenticity of our story and our career journey gives us that leverage to be able to help and give that insight that is necessary for people to be able to thrive and succeed in their career. Okay, okay, I have a lot of questions for you, and I know I've been privileged to be able to host a lot of session. And some people have reached out to me to be able to ask. So I saw your topic for today and what are we expecting? And I know that people have a lot of questions. And by the way, like I said, we're on live on three different platforms at the same time. If I have questions, I see questions in the comment section that I want you to answer. Permit me to leave other questions and probably pick that question for you to be able to answer. Is that fine by you, Advocate?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that takes me to my first question. What would you say, being in this field, in a short sentence or response, what would you say it's been like you being in this space, trying to empower people and helping them to stand out to be able to have a better future for themselves as an individual? Thank you.
Amazing. So first of all, I would like to say thank you so much, Ayala, and for having me on your amazing platform. I feel really honored, and
Thank
privileged
you.
to be
Welcome.
here. To be able to share my own insights, my career journey, and what I've been able to learn over the years with your amazing listeners. So thank you so much for this platform. And to answer your question on, what the journey has been so far, helping people, it's been more of passion for me. And I'd like to say that for me, my story didn't just start from today, just like any journey you can think about. So my background in talent acquisition and management helped me, shape myself into the career that I am currently, building right now. And the underlining factor for me has always been helping people. I experienced a lot of, challenges in my career. I there was a time that I had to pause a particular career that I was building to start something all over again. And it was like me taking a pay cut entirely, like starting over from the scratch. And I've been able to learn a lot of things in the course of that journey. And I believe that I can help, more people to shorten that that journey, that process, by sharing my own journey and just making the journey easier. Like what most people believe that, oh, if I have gone through this, then you have to, like, you would understand this, especially as immigrants. People just feel like I've paid my dues, I went through all of this, and definitely you also, you have to go through all of that. I personally have a bias towards that. I don't think that is right. I feel like if I have gone through something, like I always tell people, I don't believe that experience is the best teacher. People do not have to experience some certain things if they are privileged to, see other people who have done that and how they've been able to make a success out of it. So basically, that's how I feel like helping more people uncover that, that stage where they experience that roadblocks in their career, and basically just helping them to unstuck and getting their career running again. It keeps me going. I'm passionate about it, and that's why I do what I do. I hope Ayala is still
Okay.
here.
Yeah, I'm still here. So I'm just trying. We have a technical issue, so I'll sort it out
Okay.
while I ask you that question. So this question that I have them in sub questions. So like each question, there are sub questions. So what the first one is going to be personal and your personal journey and perspective. So I'm going to ask, oh, was there a pivot moment when you realized that your career needed to evolve or pivot? What triggered this particular um, event in your
That,
career?
that's an interesting question, Ayala. A very interesting question. So I would say that the pivotal moment for me was when I started to feel the realities of being in a new environment. As an immigrant to Canada, someone who relocated to Canada, haven't built my career for over 8 years in Nigeria, and then coming here, starting from the scratch, and dusting my resume, and just going through the motions, just like most immigrants, who are in Canada or wherever it is that they are, tend to start their career like from the scratch. You know, I did my time in survival jobs, just trying to pay my bills, and all that. But one thing I was conscious of doing is to be intentional, about where I am going. And I also made up my mind that I was not going to let the waiting period, before I landed my first job, that waiting period, I wasn't going to let it go to waste. And I was just looking for every opportunity that I could, to put myself out there. And I belong to one of the communities. When I was relocating, I was joining a lot of groups that would just keep me updated, and abreast of trends and to know what's going on out there. And I joined one particular group that had immigrants from different communities. And there was a need, for someone to help. People were having challenges with their resume, basically. And, they weren't getting jobs. They have all the experience from back home, but they weren't getting, the desired jobs. And they put it up on the group that, do we have any resource person, who can facilitate this? And I knew that I have had experience as a talent acquisition manager, and that meant that I understood what line managers, are looking out for in resume, and what recruiters are looking out for in standard resumes. And I decided to take up that opportunity to help people. Like I said, it's something I've always done. People in my close circles, friends and family know that I do that. So getting that opportunity to do it at a larger scale, and helping a lot of people who were constantly, complaining, and all that, was I took that as a huge challenge, and I took up the responsibility to do that for that community. And the session was mind blowing. A lot of feedbacks poured out of there. And for me, that was the pivotal moment. That was when I knew that, I needed to do this more. And I decided to zero in on that. And I shifted my focus a bit from traditional HR, to beginning to then coach people, So for me, it's recognizing a need, and then I saw an opportunity to be able to bridge that gap. I was able to do it. Feedbacks poured in. People who were not even live on the session reached out afterwards to say, "Oh, I heard you did this. Can you help me with this?" I built strong relationships. Just by showing up on that platform. And that was the pivotal moment for me. That was the moment I knew that yes, I wanted to, evolve in my career and move a bit from traditional HR, to career coaching and just basically help people, especially immigrants like me who are struggling in different countries that they have moved into, not understanding the nuances of the environment and how to, navigate the job environment. So that opportunity just opened me up. I took it, and I would say that that was the moment. That was the trigger for me. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that, for sharing that, Najma. So I know that I'm going to ask that question because it's like a link to my next question. However, I'm going to share this because the question that I ask you, I've been there too.
Hmm.
And I know that one thing for sure that people most of the time don't realize is that even when you change your environment, sometimes you might have to stoop low, be receptive enough, and be open to a change. And sometimes what you might need is what I call an act of service. To
Hmm.
show up. Showing up most of the time gives you that edge. But
Exactly.
most of the time, people don't realize that. They feel like, oh, I'm trying to do this. If I'm not getting this, I'm not going to go this route. And you said it, you found yourself in a new environment. What do you need to do? You need to do what, quote and unquote, even if you don't like that job, but you need to be able to put yourself out there, engage with people, be open to opportunities because why? You are showing up. And
Mhm.
for me, sharing that pivotal moment is very, very critical. And these are the things that most of the time people don't share. They only say, oh, everything is fine. I work so hard. I
Exactly.
develop skills, blah, 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 and I got the job.
Exactly.
Fantastic. But most of the time, not sharing the in depth experience, what people have been through to be able to ensure that they get to where they are going. And I would say also that never give up on where you are going and what you really know you should do. That takes me to the next question. So, how did you find career clarity in your own journey, especially amidst these industry changes? That's very fast. So how did you find that career clarity in this during your journey? How?
Amazing. So I would say two things, basically, and you touched on one of them already. So two things for me: flexibility and adaptability. I was ready, to roll up my sleeves. That kind of person. I was in a session yesterday and I was talking, and I said I was that kind of person that, early on in my career, I was just hungry. I was just passionate. I just wanted to learn, as much as I could.
Hmm.
I was that kind of person that my manager then used to say, "Stop hounding me," because I'm constantly asking, what else? I'm done with a particular task. Can you give me the next one? Just very hungry like that to learn, and that has really set the foundation for me um in my career. I wouldn't say that the where I am in my journey today, I can always link it to, how I started, by being passionate, by, just learning all that I could. Little did I know that, sometime a time would come in my life where I'll find myself in a new environment, in a place where everything is completely different, nothing like what I've always been used to. And I didn't know that those skills, would come in handy. That ability, to be nimble, to be flexible, to be able to adapt, it really came in handy for me. And that's how I was able to really, find clarity, because I wasn't stuck in my head to say, oh, I have 8 years of experience. How do I just, come here and and just, begin to start all over again? And to break down the two concepts that I said really helped me. The first one is adaptability. I
Hmm.
realized that I needed to understand the cultural context of where I am right now. Remember that definition of culture that we used to say growing up, that culture is the way of life of a group of
Mm.
people, and we even say it in HR, like, culture is how things are done around here. I had
Yes,
left
please.
the shores of my country. I needed to understand what works, where I am. And the only way to do that, in my own findings, was to get in contact with the locals and understand, and mix up with them and integrate with them so that I can really understand how things are done. Not just sending resumes, like a lot of us you tend to make that mistake. You just come and you're just shooting your resume everywhere because you feel
Everywhere.
like you have all the experience, 10 years of experience in the multinational. I've done my time. The doors should just be opening. And that's beautiful. A lot of people have
Mm-hmm.
been lucky that way. But how I was able to find myself was to get in touch with the locals, and to understand how they do things. And I started to volunteer. And, I always tell people who care to listen, I think that this is one gold mine that a lot of people, newcomers, are overlooking. And
Mm-hmm.
it holds a lot of benefits. I would say that I landed my first HR role in Canada because I volunteered on the platform of volunteering. And when I went there, it wasn't because I thought that was going to give me the job. It was just me
Yeah.
rolling up my sleeves,
Yes, please.
finding whatsoever my hands find to do and doing it well and
Wow.
showing up correctly, and with the aim of also trying to understand, how people do things around here. Volunteering, is that opportunity that, even though you're not getting paid, but you're interfacing with people, you're interacting, you're seeing their thought process, you're seeing what is important to them. Those are the things that are going to help me when I eventually land, the job. And they're also getting to learn about me. I remember one of those occasions when someone walked up to me to say, how come you speak such good English? And I'm like, I'm from Nigeria, and English language is our first language in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
It was an opportunity to educate someone, and she also took the time to educate me, and that was the what I was able to benefit from volunteering. So, and that stemmed from my ability to adapt. I've not left Nigeria to just come here and then be closing up on myself, or to just be rolling around the same people who do not even have the answers. And I'm not saying that
Mm-hmm.
I don't mingle with Nigerians. Definitely not. I have a good number of them because we understand ourselves better. But I had to take it a notch higher by really getting into the midst of the people that are here, and to understand how they did things. So for me, adaptability, yeah, and flexibility was the game changer for me. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. That was so profound. I think I mentioned that earlier before you answered the question that if you, I wouldn't say it's only in Canada, right from any environment you find yourself. Like I said, sure, to volunteer in an environment is you are contributing to whatever they are doing, and it stands you out. It
Mhm.
shows you up to people that, oh, this person is doing this. And that's one thing I know because when there's going to be a recommendation, you will
Exactly.
never know. You
Exactly.
will never know that somebody is going to recommend you. You only see that you are being recommended. So we
Mhm.
need to understand that showing up most of the time is what gives you that edge in any career pivotal moment you find yourself. And that takes me to the next question. I
I'm
mentioned we are
sorry,
going.
Ayala. I just wanted to add one more thought
Go
to
ahead.
that. So this thing about showing up, people sometimes just see it as one big thing, and they feel like they need to have all the answers. And I just wanted to
Mm,
quickly demystify that. Showing up doesn't mean that you have all the
the
answers.
answers.
No, it's just taking a chance on yourself, and
Hmm.
you would get better the more you start to show up. you
Very
know
true.
the more you start to show up, the more confidence you would become. So don't get overwhelmed, don't get lost in that box of overwhelm, like, what do I want to say? I don't see, I mean, I'm not even eloquent, I'm not articulate, how do I begin to? That's put all of those worries behind you. Of course, I'm not saying do not prepare
Mm-hmm.
yourself. It's very important, but take on those opportunities and just
Mm,
give it a try. And the more you show up, the more you do it, the better you would become. Just wanted to add that.
that sounds great. That's very, very true. I agree with you on that. So I'll be touching now on this next sub question, which is navigating disruption. The question is, how can one future-proof their career without knowing the future that they are going into? So we don't even know what the future holds. So how can we future-proof our career as an individual?
That's a great question. And, to approach that, I would say that, life in itself is it's full of disruptions. It's full of ups and downs. There are times that you plan for things. There are times that, you don't plan for things and eventualities happen. So I'm more on the side of being proactive. And that's what I would say, is the response to future proving your career, wherever it is, that whatever industry that you're in, whether or not you're looking to pivot, there is there is the future, for that particular career. There's what skills will be relevant, in the future for that career. There are tools that will be relevant in the future for that career. So you don't need to wait until you get to that point. You can begin to acquire those skills and those certifications from now, so that when that time comes, you're able to, you're prepared. So I think that's the key thing here, right? In future proving your career is just being prepared, ahead of opportunities, not waiting until those opportunities come, but being like 10 times ahead. And thankfully, AI, automation, technology has given us, there's no excuse anymore. You can peep into 10 years ahead from now. You can peep into, there are a lot of organizations today that talks about, the future of work, the skills that will be relevant in 2030, in 2050. If you are being proactive, you are aligning yourself with those skills, and preparing yourself ahead before that time comes. So I would say that preparation, is key in future proving your career, understanding what skills will be relevant for the future and starting to invest in them now. And something humorous that came to my mind as I'm addressing this is, I see a lot of people, sometimes I feel like we have misplaced priorities. you know we're at the phase when we should be, heavily investing on ourselves, but we are choosing other things. Like, and I'm not saying this is wrong, before someone will quote me, like, buying a land, investing in real estate, or,
Good.
like doing all those other things, dressing to impress. Fantastic, it's beautiful, it's important how you show up, but you should pay more attention, to investing in yourself. And, to answer your last question, the world keeps changing. You just need to be prepared and to be ready. And there is no better way to fortify yourself and to be able to become relevant in that future than by having the right skills that will be needed at that time. If they turn to you to say, Olajumoke, so, how can you, the business is moving, we are automating this, we're automating that, and you pull out your certificates, to show that you've mastered automation, how do you think that would feel? You're going to just separate yourself from the pack. So in response to your question, preparation, understanding the skills of the future, getting them ahead, and just positioning yourself.
Thank you. And thank you so much for that. And I think my next sub question is skills, competences, and adaptability, which you have mentioned earlier. So the question I'm going to ask you under this is, what skills or mindsets are most critical for navigating career clarity in disruptive times?
Hmm. What's Take the question again, please.
What skills or mindsets What
Okay.
skills or mindset are
That
most
are
critical for navigating career clarity in disruptive time?
amazing. And, like you said, I think that two non-negotiables are the ones that I started this conversation with. That ability to be adaptable. throw me anywhere and I am able to survive. Adaptability. I love stories a lot, because I feel like it helps to drive home the message. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to share this story that I heard a long time ago and really resonates with me. And that's the story of, I've forgotten, what car manufacturer now, but a famous car manufacturer who was asked, a question about, you've built your empire, your business to this point. If anything happens and you don't have anything again, maybe the business goes bankrupt, or or something, how will you cope? I'm paraphrasing. And the guy said, even if you take me to the desert, to start all over again, desert where there is nothing, there are no tools, I am able to replicate the same success. Just do not take my brain away from me. As long as I have my brain, I am able to replicate that success, that level of success that I've achieved before. And that to me is speaking to adaptability. The fact that you are clear on your skills, you're clear about what you have mastered your craft enough to be sure that if you're thrown, anywhere in the waves of disruption, you will be able to stand the test of time. That's what it means to be adaptable, and I think that's a really critical skill for anyone to have in today's generation. And flexibility as well, being able to, you're not set in your ways. I always tell people, you cannot be set in your ways, like this is how I've always known how to do it, and it must continue like that. I'm sure one Bible verse is coming to mind if you're a Christian. The way we have always done it from the beginning, so shall it be. No, that you have to, the world is evolving, you cannot be static. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
be flexible, to be able to be open-minded. And I think that's another one. You have to be open-minded, to new things. The more open-minded you are, the more opportunities you would get, being able to see beyond the ordinary and be able to connect with stuff. So I think that being able to navigate disruptions, the mindset that you need to have is to be adaptable, to be flexible, to be open-minded. And maybe I'll just add one last layer, because I also know that a lot of people are big on automation. And of course, definitely technology, by all means, get it, master it, know how to use it, but please don't lose that human connection. I think that has been my message in recent
Fantastic.
times.
Yeah.
Do not lose that human connection, because yes, automation, AI, and all these beautiful things can help us to work more efficiently, but they can't ask people really how are you. They can't really be able to connect with people on a deeper level. So the place of human is still very important. So don't lose it to technology. Remain human, be able to connect with people. So, and that's just the last skill that I would add, empathy. It's very critical as well to be able to navigate this disruptive world. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for that. I'm not going to say anything to that again because you have said it all. And the next subtopic question that I have is under technology and AI, which I think is like you are picking from my question or you are reading my mind. The question is, what impact do you see AI and automation having on career choices and clarity? What impact do you think they're having? The AI and automation are going to have or are already having
Having,
in career clarities and career choices and clarities.
you know, permit me to use the word disruption. Massive disruption, right? I mean, think about it. 5 years or 10 years ago, do we have professions like social media management?
It was nothing like that really, but we are doing it, but
it
Not
wasn't as
everybody in that
structured.
point.
It wasn't
Yes.
as structured, as it is right now. Content creation. Do
Yeah.
we have people
It's a big deal now.
who would come out to say, as it is today, and proudly introduce themselves as content creator, pardon me, like that's what they do full time. So those are the kind of impacts, that AI and automation is having, is redefining, career choices that people now have. Nobody wants to be, at the end of things. You want to
Mm-hmm.
stay
On the
ahead,
forefront, yes.
at the forefront. So yes, people, it's redefining career choices. And let me also, maybe not shock you, but it's also influencing the kind of courses that people are going to study in school nowadays. I have someone who is currently doing his PhD in automation, in AI and automation. I mean, before now, did we have that in our traditional curriculum? I bet no. But you can see that, that disruption is even affecting the academic world, the education industry. If you ask, a child now, what do you want to become in the future? It's no longer I want to become a doctor. It's no longer about, becoming a lawyer. They're telling you, all this, you know, and prompt engineering, automation, all these fancy things that are in the world today. So I would say that the disruption is massive. Recently I attended a college house event at Durham College, and I saw their program about AI and automation. It's mind blowing. It's
Mm-hmm.
mind blowing. I mean, I don't want to go into the details, but it's mind blowing. They had a stand dedicated to that, and I can tell you that that stand had the highest number of visitors, because you just
Mm-hmm.
want to know what is going on there, and it also goes to show what is going on in the world today. So in terms of impacting people's career choices, that's what it is doing. Actually, it's influencing, the kind of um course that people are going to do. And even for career professionals, people are not just, picking up any skills today. People, like we rightly said in the previous question, future ready skills. What will make them relevant? AI keeps changing, the world is changing. What will make them relevant? So this is also impacting the kind of skills that professionals are prioritizing. So it's becoming a key factor in career decision making, and clarity for the future of work.
Okay, thank you so much, Okay, and for me, I know I attended a conference within the last year. Yeah, last year, an human resource conference. And one thing that I took away from that conference is talks about what we call 1 degree shift.
Mm-hmm.
For people that goes to space, you will not know the impact of 1 degree shift of a rocket that is being
Hmm.
launched until they get to space.
Hmm.
That 1 degree is going to be measured in thousands of meters. So, and whereas here, when they were doing it, it's just a degree, just 1 degree shift. So, and I say that to say this, that there's no knowledge waste
At
or
all.
wasted, if I can say that.
Oh,
When you think that I have less skills in this, ask people, learn. There are several courses online. I usually say that. Learn
yeah.
new skills, familiarize yourself with people that are there or that are doing what you think you want to do. There's always something to learn. And most of the time, I've been privileged to learn a lot of things through volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
That gave me easy access,
I
direct access,
know.
and I don't even need to do anything. Well, once I have that, that push me in right away. So people need to be able to do things differently. I think I posted sometimes some days back. I said, "Be different." That word is like a book. Be different in everything you do. Go for more. Go the extra mile. Learn the things you have to do. AI is different totally, and like what you said. From what you said, people naturally before will not come out and say, "I'm a content creator." You can't say that. People will look at you and like, "What are you saying?" But now people are proud. to be able to
Yeah,
say that this is what I do for a living. And I can say that for free. I've seen several people online that live on that and they are doing
absolutely.
fantastically well. Okay, that takes me to the next question. So, how should people respond when their current roles or position are at risk of being replaced or redefined by technology?
Oh, that is another interesting question. And, I smiled because I feel like when your job is already under threat, like you're late to the party
Mm-hmm.
already, you know, you're not even supposed to wait until that time.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've been doing in the course of this conversation, I relate things with happenings in my life so that I can make it relatable. So I an example readily came to mind, and maybe my friend is also watching right now. This story that I'm about to share is it's a real story. Our organization was about to go through a season of layoff, massive layoff. And that's those are some of the risk, or threats that happen,
Mm-hmm.
because of the disruption in technology. But before then, which is my point exactly, people need to be proactive about their career. You don't being reactive, you're already late. So you need to be prepared so that you're not caught unawares. She didn't even know that there was going to be that, massive layoff, and she just decided to future proof her career by investing in a paid mentoring program. A paid mentoring program that opened that up, to a wild, skills that was relevant to our role, that made her, it sort of fortified her. So when the season came for people, when they were packing the pink letters, around and serving it to people to say, oh, the company is going through a turbulent time, and we're sorry, we have to let you go. It didn't land on my friend's desk because she took initiative, 1 year ahead
Yeah,
to
yeah.
preserve herself against, she didn't even know that that time was going to come. This was her just making herself marketable, just staying competitive in today's job market. And little did she know that a season would come, in her job, where other people were going to be served, pink letters and say, we can't continue to pay you. The company is going through this season. But how she was able to navigate that bend was because she had invested in herself. And again, these things are really interconnected, like I've said earlier. Don't wait till that moment. That's what I would say. Prepare yourself ahead. Find out, what the next level is in that career, in that chosen field of endeavor that you are in that industry. Where is it headed, and start building relevant skills on the side. And I know some people will say, oh, I'm even still struggling at survival phase, trying to pay my bills. How do you expect me to juggle these things? And while I'm not saying it is easy, but you just need to keep your head, in the game, and understand that survival is a phase. You don't want to be stuck there. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't plan your exit strategy, you will be stuck there. So, and how to plan your exit strategy out of a survival phase or an impending threat to your job is to be ready, with the relevant skills in that industry, to be ready for leadership roles. Again, don't be comfortable with whatever role that you're in right now. Demonstrate that you can do more. I don't know if you know anyone who even me as a business owner, if I see someone who is ready to roll up their sleeves and go beyond their job description, like I'm excited about that person to be part of their success. And organizations can also see that if you just sign in to just do your job, and just leave when everybody is
Yeah,
leaving, like,
living, yeah.
I've paid my dues for the day, and you just leave. You're not putting in extra. You're probably going to get the result of not putting extra, but if you put in the extra, and of course, Also the grace factor, because I'm a Christian and that usually shines through. Combining that with the grace factor, there is no threat that can really come, and even if it comes, it will just be for a season, and you're definitely going to shoot up again because you already have what it takes to survive that period. So don't hold back. Not trying to repeat what Ayola has already said, there are tons of resources. In fact, the world that we live in today, there are really no excuses. There are we are inundated with information, and it's just out there. It's how much you can search. And another thing I'll just say is, don't keep your mouth closed. especially if
Very
you're
true.
especially if you're
Very true.
navigating a new terrain. If you're keeping quiet, you are shortchanging yourself. You need to ask questions. What skills are people acquiring now? And you can ask. If you surround yourself also with the right kind of people who will let you know. And mentoring as well can help. If you submit yourself to mentoring opportunities, it would help to prepare you for what is ahead. Like I said, my friend took up a paid mentoring opportunity, and that was what helped her to future proof her career, and she was able to survive that storm. So yeah, that's what I would say
Okay, I know one thing for
in
sure,
that
that
regard.
is, we can't overemphasize this. There's what I call, that I've learned over the years that I always use, which is called 5 Ps. Proper reparations prevent poor performance.
Absolutely.
And you can't not prepare, or you can't over prepare,
Yeah.
because when it gets to a space where they are letting you go, sometimes it's more difficult for any employee. But when you are the one letting them go, it's easier for you because, quote unquote, you have plans. But
Exactly.
most of the time, it comes as a shock to employee when they said, and every employers most of the time are only trying to ensure they make profit. So if they are
Absolutely.
not making profit, they are letting you go. But the point
Absolutely.
is, if you are let go, what do you fall back on?
Hmm.
It's a challenge when people are not prepared. It comes as a shock.
Hmm.
And we can't overemphasize this. Learn new skills, develop and improve the skills you have currently. And that will take me to the next question, which speaks to strategy, decision making, and purpose. So the question is it possible to have a purpose driven career while remaining practical about market demands? So I will give you an explanation. So you have a particular career currently, and you are seeing the navigation of where the things are going with AI, and you feel, or you know, or you concluded that this is my purpose driven career. So, but based on the market demand, maybe in the next 5 years, in the next 2 years, you are feeling, or you are aware that this particular career might not be an in thing. So, do you think people can balance the purpose driven career and still remain practical about market demand?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. And I'm thinking of the best way to approach that. So one thing that I would like to say though is that it is possible to find a balance. Yes, it is possible to find a balance. You don't have to lose yourself just because we live in a changing world. you know the fact that things are changing does not mean that what makes us who we are
That's
changes.
true.
Our core values, the things that we hold in high esteem, remains the same even in a changing world. What we're just saying is, that ability to stay nimble. If they are doing it this way now, you can also sort of tweak a few things while still maintaining your core. So to have a purpose driven career that you feel is it's in alignment with your purpose even in a changing world, I believe is very possible. What would just you just need to find ways around it. So, for instance, I've always loved, helping people, and that was what informed my decision to go into HR at the time, 8 years ago. But right now I found myself in a new environment where I needed to evolve, and I'm evolving now into career coaching. But I'm not losing, the central focus for me is still the people, but the medium through which I'm connecting with people is now changing. I don't know if this is making sense, or if someone, is able to connect with this. The circumstances or the environment that I found myself is evolving, is changing, but my core principle of empowering people has not changed. But I am remaining, nimble enough to be able to adapt it, to fit into whatever environment that I find myself. So I think for me, that is a way to navigate it. You don't need to change yourself, because the truth is, you know, seasons would change, but you remain constant. Jobs would evolve
Hmm.
as your name Ayola changed since you've been born.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many years you've lived on earth? That's just a literal example. I'm just saying that the fact that disruption is happening, the world is changing, should not change your purpose, should
Yes,
not
please.
change your core values, should not change the things that you hold in high esteem. But what I am saying is, be open minded enough to know how to tweak it to fit into the current dispensation, to be able to align it with what the world, is currently saying, without losing yourself in the midst of it. I don't know if you might be able to add
Yeah,
something to that.
yeah. So
That,
for me,
yeah.
fantastic. So, like I said, because just because things are changing very fast or
Hmm.
drastically does not mean you should just change your value,
Yeah,
especially with our good values. So,
exactly.
and I also know there's what we call evolving. As we grow, a lot of things changes. As we get to a level in our career, things changes. I've gotten to a level in my career at a time where it is not about the money.
Hmm.
It's about the value that I can tap into and the value that I can give. I know I've said this times without number that sometimes I can't work in every organization. You can't work in every organization as long as it's not aligning with your personal value and purpose. So whatever value and purpose that you have as an individual, what you need to do is to align it with the organization. And if they are not aligning, that means they are going to change the quote unquote the good value and the purpose that you have as an individual. In no time, you see yourself changing probably from being a good person to the other side. But one thing that I've learned is be open, be receptive to change, and at the same time, improve. Improvement is critical. You can't say you have changed. You have changed from what to what. And because we grow in as an individual, we grow in careers, number of years. And also there's what we call wealth of experience. Sometimes you can say it takes what takes longer for A can take half of the years for B. Because why? B ask questions. B ask and went to learn from different people and was able to pick only the good things that they are looking for from those people and adapt it to what they are doing. That takes me to the next process. I don't want to jump the gun. Is talks about mentorship
Okay.
and
I just wanted
community.
to
Go
just
ahead.
add just one more thing to
Go
that
ahead.
conversation. And I think, not I think, curiosity, is also
Yes, please.
one thing that you must never lose touch of. You know, it's completely important, and I'm not going to over flog it, but I just wanted to call it out. Your ability to stay curious, it's also
Mhm.
very critical.
Thank you for that. So, what would you say is the place of mentorship in career clarity or career development?
That one, it's a no-brainer, really. it's a no-brainer. And it's hinged upon my philosophy, which I shared earlier, that I don't believe that people have to learn by experience. I don't believe that you have to go through what you don't necessarily have to go through, if only
Mm-hmm.
you can just climb on the shoulders of those that have gone ahead of you. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you know this, Ayala, and I'm sure that a lot of our listeners today know this as well, that there is nothing new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing new. We're just tweaking things, you know,
Evolving.
just
Mm-hmm.
evolving, rebranding it. There's nothing new. Go and do your research. There's absolutely nothing new, and that's really the value of mentoring. The places that you haven't been to, your mentors have been there, and you want to leverage that. I personally believe that mentoring, gives us flight. And again, let me share, a personal example with this as well. I remember when I was starting out my HR career, I at the time I was in a sales role, because I didn't even know what I wanted to do with myself at the time. I didn't even understand what career path was. I was just living with the principle of whatsoever my hands find to do it well. But I had a mentor who saw ahead of me, and he would take me by the hands and take me into HR meetings. Don't I mean Get me right, I had not even earned my certification. I hadn't gotten my first job in
Mm-hmm.
HR,
Mm-hmm.
but he was an HR person. I already knew that was what I wanted to do. And I walked up to him, to start the conversation. And he would take me into those meetings. And I think I should even give him his flowers here, Tayo, Patayo. He would take me into meetings, and they will say a lot of things in those sessions, and it would just be over my head. I'm just wondering, what are they saying? But he was taking a lot of, HR, we have those very big concepts, and legal, and I'll just be fascinated, and I'll just be there in those sessions and just be wondering in my head, when God, when will I be the person, that these people are listening to? And I didn't really understand that it was building me up, for the future that was ahead, because that gave me mileage, that gave me leverage,
Fridge, yeah.
later on in my career. By the time I eventually got my foot in the door in HR, I didn't come across as a beginner. It looked like I had been, I had been on
There.
the field doing the job, so
Mm.
mentoring cannot be overemphasized. It
Emphasize,
helps
yes,
you,
that's true.
it helps you to cut short your journey. Instead of a journey that would have taken somebody else 10 years, can take you lesser if you leverage mentoring. And while mentoring is also beautiful, I just wanted to add this as well, that it's also a concept that a lot of people tend to abuse these days, because people just think that, there's this sense of entitlement. I should just get it. Maybe the person is
Mm.
a church member, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm using that carefully, and you just feel like, as long as this person is my church member, I should have access to him,
Mm.
and all that. But just to keep my thoughts clear, what I'm really trying to say is that mentoring is a two-way street. And I learned
Yes,
that from
please.
one of my
Yes, please. It
yeah, and I learned
is.
that from one of my guests. It's a give and take, and
Take, yes.
like that my guest emphasized, that
Mm-hmm.
giving is even the part, is emphasizing giving, and I think I'm aligned with him on that. If you show, commitment, if you show hunger, if you show that you're also ready,
Very
to
true.
make contributions, you would be amazed at how much you would be able to receive from your mentor. And I dare to say that the quality of the questions that you ask, the quality of involvement that you bring would, determine the quality of impact that you would get
Mental,
from
yes,
that
please.
relationship. So if you
I
bring
agree.
your A game, you are definitely going to get, you know, nothing
Again,
less.
response, yes.
You're not going to get anything less. So yes, mentoring,
I agree with you
100%.
totally. I've been privileged to be mentored by different people, and virtually the people that can call my mentor, I think I walked out
To
towards them.
them.
I reached out to them, and because there is one thing or the other that I've been able to help them with, they had no choice than to just accept me that, oh, this guy. Because one thing I realized is that, and I think I posted something some years back about mentor-mentee relationship. People
Mhm.
believe that every time I need my mentor should be there. Anything I need, they should give it to me. No, is give and take.
Yeah,
And it's true, the value you add to them, you might not see that as a value. For instance, asking your mentor, oh, you're talking about a particular topic for a slide. I can try that. I can help you do that. You can't
exactly.
do a slide for someone which you are taking that burden off them because they understood what it takes to do make a slide. They will definitely respond to you. I think
Mhm.
we have a few minutes to go, and I don't want to flog
Yeah.
this. So, um, the last note, what would be your advice, Olajumoke, for someone that is feeling stuck or lost in their career right now?
Hmm. So I would say,
In a very short sentence, because I have the last question,
pick pick
a call to
yourself,
action.
pick yourself up, understand what value you bring to the table.
Mhm,
And I think that's going to be your biggest asset. If you don't even know what you're capable of doing, there's
mhm,
no way that you're able to change the narrative. So understand
mhm.
what value you bring to the table, and if that value that you bring to the table is not clear, then it's something for you to work on. So that becomes your assignment at the time. If time permits me, I would have explained more, but I'll just keep it at that. So understand what you bring to the table, work on that, and it would help you to
Th-
move out of a stock
th-
season.
This last one is like a call to action or advice or a takeaway. So, what are the top three actions someone can take today to gain clarity in their career direction? If you can just mention three top things.
Okay, top three
Three
actions
action.
that people can begin to take today.
Mhm,
And I think we already said it a lot in this conversation. Equip yourself with the right skills, with relevant skills, whatever that looks like for you in your industry. Look for it. And I would also say this last point that we discussed, mentoring, take that very seriously. Look for mentors that can guide you, that can help you, and strike a relationship with them, and work on that. And then I'll say the last thing, don't be afraid to take a chance on yourself. Do not be afraid. Make mistakes if you have to. It's fine. It's okay, but pick yourself back up again. Sometimes you don't even know how much you have. A lot of times you are just learning, learning, learning. People say, oh, learn new skills. You're just acquiring all of those things, but you're not even putting them to work, to use, to be able to know whether or not you have mastered, the use of this craft. So the last thing for me that I would say is for you to not be afraid of making a mistake. Try it out. And I figured out that clarity comes from trying. Actually, it
mhm.
doesn't come from sitting around. By the time you try something, if that's the right way to do it or not, and you learn from that. So
Thank you so much, Olajumoke. And I think it is a great time of having this conversation with you. And I think we will take this conversation further either on YouTube or on LinkedIn. So if anybody have questions, comment, I'll be more than happy to respond to this. And I believe that Jumoke also will be more than happy to respond and take the conversation further. And if you think that you have questions, you just need to ask personally. Why don't let us connect on LinkedIn? And you can also connect with Jumoke on LinkedIn, so myself. And we'll see you some other time. Thank you so much
yeah.
and enjoy the rest of your weekend from
Thank
wherever you
you.
join us from today. Thank you and bye.
Bye.